we forget when we come here. Like, we're in this dense illusion, and the more we can peel back those layers, we take our power back and we recognize all of the things that we can do. Neo, the spoon isn't real.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
And so, you know, people who judge it or whatever, it's like, okay, so you're not going to win the game. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Yeah.
We come as souls, so many of us, to remind each other, this is the illusion. All of this suffering we create for ourselves.
Right.
We create this for ourselves.
Right. Yes.
This stuff is an illusion. And when you remember that, I can work with it and work with the energy and hack the energy and be in the frequency where I'm not limited by all of the distortion and all of the heaviness to create something different. Do you feel like your frequency changes under the lights?
I don't know. Maybe, but it almost enhances things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just
What
curious.
about you? Yeah. What about you? Do you notice it?
The lights are hard for me.
Lights are hard for you.
He knows. Totally knows this. Yeah. It's like, it creates a lot more of like a vortex feel for me. I don't know if I'm just like sensitive.
Yeah.
I definitely like a lower light
That makes
situation.
sense. I think it actually enhances for me because it's just like it's almost that on-stage feeling.
Yeah. And I think if I'm speaking from a logical place, it enhances me.
Right.
I think channeling wise, you think about like if I'm gonna have like a ceremony, it's gonna be at night. It's gonna be like candle lit. There's something about the moodiness,
mystical,
like because it's like eliminating senses, so you're dropping into the unseen more easily.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So it's just always interesting being vibrationally aware of it. You know?
Yeah. I it's, now that you mentioned that, I definitely feel that.
Yeah.
But like I felt your energy stronger, so like that was the anchor.
There you go. Good. Yeah. Gotta grab that anchor. I think that's why it's definitely easier for me with another person.
Yeah.
To like ground in.
Right.
Than it is myself, because I'm just like.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Floating.
How has your channel changed through time?
That's a big question.
It's a big question.
Through time, starting from when?
Like starting from channel online.
Like
that's
from
young,
birth?
Right? Well, sure. But like when would you say like your channel actually was like where it's like I'm channeling things or I'm channeling other entities or consciousness?
Okay, well I think like talking to entities and channeling them like as soon as I could talk. Until I was about, I forget what age, but 7 or 8. And then I turned it off and I suppressed, kind of like suppressed all of it. And so more the way that it was coming through was in my body, like being a deep feeler. And I think just knowing things, but it didn't have that, I didn't have that awareness of, oh, this person's saying this, or it wasn't visual for me during that time. I turned off my clairvoyance, basically.
Got it.
But I would know things, and I never knew. I mean, now I'm like, was I smart or was I just psychic? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like in school.
Yeah.
Things turned back online when I was about 19, 20.
Was this when you started going through your health issues?
Yeah, I was going through my health issues, and I had gone to see an intuitive, and that night, it was my first time since I was younger that I had a physical visitation. And before that, the year or two before that, I had been having a lot of like ghost visits, but not physical visitations from the angels or the ascended masters. And so it turned it back online pretty much instantly. And then I started working with my first spiritual mentor. And this is when I was learning energy work. And she was helping me open up my gifts again and just being able to recognize them and work with them. And I just really didn't know that all the things I was experiencing was psychic abilities, which now it sounds so obvious, but I just really didn't know that they were psychic abilities. Yeah. I didn't really know what I was thinking. It was really weird. So then I was just realizing, wow, and I remember going to, it was my second psychic mentor, and just this hole in the wall, this man, you would never know he exists, 80 years old, like have been doing this his whole life. And I sit down and I go, I'm like, want to pursue this, but I don't know if I can really do it. And he was like, you're a psychic medium. And I go, yeah, I don't know about that. And he was like, do you see the person right here? And I go, yeah. And he goes, what color like shirt does he have on? I tell him, he goes, and is he holding anything? And I go, yeah, he's holding a crystal this color. I'm like describing him. He goes, it's this guy, right? And he like holds up the image of, it's one of his spirit guides. Whoa. And I was like, yeah. He goes, okay, so I just want to tell you, you're a psychic medium. And it wasn't until that moment that I was amazing. Like,
it clicked.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I was like, well, I was like, can't other people tell?
Right. Was that the mentality you had of just like, oh yeah, it's obvious. It's
yeah,
right there.
It was just like obvious, and like I thought that anybody could.
Yeah.
Everybody was seeing it, or I don't know what I was thinking. Honestly,
yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking, and I think more of it was that all of my senses were all just together in a togetherness energy. Versus I started to learn to separate what was psychic and what was logical. And when I started to separate that, I started to realize that it was there. But I used to just all think it was me and my thoughts. And I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter.
Sense, yeah.
You know? I didn't have any I didn't have anybody spiritual around me. Ever. So, yeah. And then I was doing a lot of more psychic work. I was doing a lot of psychic work. And then around it was 2020, like 2019 2020 was when I started channeling, like being started speaking through me. And pretty much immediately and with my mentorship, people always ask me like, how do I find a mentor? I'm like, everybody that I've gotten help from, like, they're just divinely delivered. You know, it's like I didn't look anybody up on the internet. They just kind of fell into my life. Most people who have mentored me, they don't have websites, they don't have phone numbers. Like, actually a lot of my mentors have passed now, have transitioned. But when the student is ready, the teacher it was just kind of like I was in that divine synchronicity, and I would just get sent people. And so thankfully at the time, one of my like spiritual, she's like a life coach, basically, just a life coach I worked with on life things, but she was a psychic too, and one of her best friends had, you know, was a trance channel and had been doing it for 30 years. And so I started working with her and getting help from her, and then started meeting other trance channels who've been doing it for a long time. And so started just getting mentorship to train and like how to do it safely and responsibly, and you know, just learning from lots of different people, and getting that mentorship was really important. And then that just became a daily practice. And
just interject, the trance channeling is where you are like stepping out, and another being is stepping in, like Bashar would be trance channel. Yeah,
he's trance channeling.
Got it.
I believe he's trance channeling. Like the mechanism for me is I'm going into a trance.
Right.
Like a hypnosis. And, you know, there's wording to this. So I'm going into a trance like state, which can feel like I'm stepping out. I mean, if I was really stepping out, I would die, right? Yeah. Like,
could you control that?
Yeah.
You could.
Well, what part?
Like in your sense of like knowing how far to step out or not?
I mean, I've never tried to step so far out.
I don't want you to.
Yeah.
But but do you feel like you have a sense of like stepping out too far? Like how far is too far is my point.
Oh yeah, I could step out too far for sure. Where it's like I can't find my way back. There have been times I didn't know if I was coming back.
Really?
Like one time in particular, I was freaking out.
Really?
I was. All these different timelines were like passing in front of me, and I tried to put my feet in it to ground into, and it just kept passing, and I couldn't ground in, and I thought for sure I was done. I thought for sure I was done. It was, and I'm laughing at that, but it's really not funny. It was actually very scary.
That's crazy.
And that's why when people just do this, I'm like, please don't do this without like it's a power tool. You know, one of my mentors would always say, these are power tools. Like you don't just pick up a chainsaw without knowing safety precautions.
Right.
And this is real stuff, you know? So, and even just with the electricity, you know, a lot of the different mentors I worked with who had been channeling for a long time, they were telling me, they're like, you need to be aware of how much energy you're running, because people have died doing this because they're running so much energy that it actually like can overheat the body. And understanding that was really important, because I've definitely pushed it too far sometimes. Like burnout's a real thing. And when I first was learning this, I 100% put myself in adrenal fatigue because I was trance channeling a lot every single day. And I just, so there's a lot of learning in that. But yeah, so, you know, at first it was, I'm reading. At first, honestly, it was a lot more. I was reading people's fields, but not to the capacity I do now. I was reading their field, but it was a lot more I was getting information from their spirit guides and talking to their spirit guides. That was a lot more of what was happening, and loved ones and things like that. And then over the years, that's kind of changed. And then when I started trance channeling, I was doing a lot of that, of stepping aside, so to speak, and allowing the being, and this isn't just any being, right? There's a whole period of getting to know the energy very well before you're ever gonna allow them to move through you, right? So there's a lot of nuance to this, but just to kind of explain the mechanism for them to use my voice box, essentially. And yeah, it started off with the energy that I channeled my first few books from, the monarch being, and then I realized that a lot of the ascended masters I had worked with for most of my life also wanted to talk through me, and they were all like, hey, I want to write a book through you, or I want you to write all these things down for me. And so I was channeling a lot of the different ascended masters that I work with. And yeah, I was doing that for a while, and then I think simultaneously, just the more I was, and really, I've been doing Ahai, and that really blasted open kind of my ability to work with the field and work with energy. So yeah, I was really able to perceive the field with a lot more intricacy. So I always describe it kind of like, so one, my experience when I'm in a session with someone, what it looks like for me, because I'm a clairvoyant that, I see things in my mind's eye, but most of what I see is fields around external, and being is external. It looks like in Iron Man when he's working with Jarvis and he's like in the sea of the holograms. That's exactly what it looks like for me when I'm in a session with somebody. I'm in their auric field and I'm seeing everything in there, and like the hologram on their body. That's what I'm working with, is the first layer. But then the other part is, they have these in National Treasure, and that, have you seen National Treasure?
Oh, heck yes.
Like the glasses where he pushes down on a thing and it shows a new layer because of the colors.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what I'm doing psychically, where I'll kind of work on one layer and what I can see, and then I'll turn on the next layer. And so I can work at different densities in the field. And so then that's how I'm getting to different layers in the field. So that's one part of how I'll perceive. It's more of that kind of like masculine. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this X-ray, and then getting information from what I'm seeing. And then, the other part is if I want to allow that energy to kind of move through me and talk through me. So if that's somebody's soul that kind of transformed over the years, that's something in the last couple of years that was coming through really strongly. Like, can we just like talk through you kind of? And as the longer I was trance channeling, like I don't need to go into a trance. It's more of like they can just plug their consciousness into my brain, and I know what they're saying all the time. So I don't have to step out for that to be spoken through.
And that's more of a recent thing, you would say? I
would say that's more of last 2 years.
Okay. And can you discern, because I know when you're channeling, it's not just like one being that you're channeling. It's like there's the ascended masters that you're channeling. There's different levels of consciousness. There's source itself. Like there's the soul level. Like how do you view, or how do you see the different, and you can feel and discern of like, oh, this is this voice that's coming through, or this energy. Like how do you feel that?
Yeah. So the easiest way to describe it is in my own practice. Like what I'm doing in my own practice is typically like if I'm doing an Ahai session on myself, and that's kind of when I do all my spiritual work and all that, I'm kind of opening up that space and opening myself into my oracle energy. So in that setting, I'm an oracle for the divine beings. And that's where it opens up that conversation. In that conversation, I can tap into and speak as or perceive from with a number of different beings, right? In my own practice, my main spirit guides are the ascended masters I work with. So there's a number of them that are my daily, like my counsel. And so we're in a boardroom and we're all chatting, and everybody has a seat at the table. And so whether that's Yeshua or Mary Magdalene or Melchizedek or Goddess Isis, right? So we'll have that conversation. So I know, what Isis is saying. It's the same
Right.
thing as what you're saying to me. I know
Right.
Josh is saying. It's
Right.
literally the
It's the
same
same
exact
thing.
perception.
Got it.
The only difference is if there were, 15 more people around us in this room with us, and
They were
instead
not
of
physical.
dense, you were a hologram. That's
Right.
that's literally what my experience is.
Got it.
And then I can either simultaneously or shift into source is everything. Source is the energy of everything. The second I'm going into a more particular perception with a specific voice, it's moving into group consciousness in some way, if that makes sense, right? Reading source is reading the field. It's a vibrational transmission. It's not a voice.
Got it.
That makes sense?
That makes sense, yeah.
So that would be source of like reading like the entire field of all that is. But the closest personification to that would be what for me, refers to itself as infinite intelligence of love, infinite intelligence of light. And so that energy is a sea of just the infinite intelligence that is a frequency stream of love. And so that's the perception of source that, like for me, of source that I'll tap into if I'm wanting something beyond the ascended master realm.
Got it. And those that would be like different levels,
yeah,
almost?
like different experiences.
So
right?
what would ascended masters be like the first one up for you, or is there something that's
so it would be like in terms of if we're gonna quantify it like that, or expand it out like that.
Expand it out, yeah. Maybe that's a better way.
If I was talking to a past loved one, they'd be closest to me. If I'm talking to a more traditional spirit guide, maybe somebody I've had a past life with who is circling me and giving me guidance, or like a random ancestor, right? That's going to be a spirit guide. If we keep expanding out, or like higher dimensional, is going to be an ascended master. If we keep expanding out, we're going to get into, and I'll also put kind of in that realm would be the galactic side of things, but galactic I actually would put a little bit, I guess, below ascended master, because I'm talking to the frequency, like the oversoul of the ascended master, versus galactically these are actual dimensional beings that are like closer to our dimension than if I'm talking to like an oversoul frequency.
Okay,
does that make sense?
Yeah, the oversoul frequency that,
like
that was human.
I could go visit another planet. I could go visit another, an ET, like I can see, I can talk to, and it's a different density. But where I connect to the ascended master frequency is not like, they're not like hanging out. Well, they do have a planet they hang out on. They actually do. So sometimes I do go to that planet, but that planet is a higher dimensional space.
Sure.
So the frequency I'm meeting them at, and a lot of these beings, like they're existing in different dimensions, the same way we are, right? Them, and then beyond that would be group consciousness. So if there's a certain group energy, which a lot of people channel group energies, so it's going to be beyond the individual perception.
Is that like Abraham?
Yes.
From Esther Hicks channels Abraham is like a group consciousness.
I would yes, group consciousness, and you probably have to ask them or her.
Yeah.
That would be anywhere between a group consciousness and like her aspect of source.
Got it. Yeah.
Right?
Like infinite intelligence.
Yeah, because there can be groups that are like clear groups. And that is slightly lower in dimensionally than just pure infinite intelligence. All that what is. All that is.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
That does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are those different layers to it. So when I'm going in for questioning of myself, I'm looking at my actual energy body. I'm looking at my energy field. I'm going to tap into my soul. And my oversoul frequency is at the boardroom of the ascended masters. That's the aspect of myself I'm tapping into.
Gotcha.
Like me talking to my galactic self is really not going to be that helpful. No offense. Compared to, you're listening, right? Yeah. Compared to me talking to my oversoul essence.
Wait, what do you mean by your galactic self? Like your...
Like me off in the Pleiades, me off in Andromeda.
Not just like talking to other beings in the galactic space, but like...
I could, but
you're saying you exist as a version of... Oh, you do. Do we all exist as like a version of ourselves in another...
In other places?
Other places. Like our consciousness specifically. Whoa, that's interesting. I haven't heard that before. I haven't considered
Oh,
that.
yeah, for sure. Well, it's the same thing as how you have other lifetimes.
Right.
Those are actually parallel.
Right.
Those are all different timelines. You're existing in all different timelines.
Yes, all at once.
Yeah, right?
And so then, therefore, we're existing in different physical places.
Yeah, and so, okay, is everybody... No, because not everybody incarnates everywhere as a soul.
Got it.
Some souls are earthers. They're earthies.
Hardcore earthers.
Most people listening to this are not earthers.
At least this far into the conversation.
Yeah, probably not. Yeah. So, but in terms of me, like when I'm for me, in I'm asking questions about myself, right? Like my growth, my inner growth, my timeline. So like I'm gonna go to my soul. I'm not gonna go ask a random spirit guide.
No, that's
right.
Smart.
Like I'm gonna go to my soul. So the clearest, purest version
Your
of
higher
my soul.
being.
My higher being. It's gonna be like my oversoul frequency is the wisest version of me. So there's an aspect of me that's here as Christina. There is an aspect of me that's vibrating at the frequency of Ascended Master Oversoul.
Yeah.
So that's who I connect in with, and that is what guides me.
That makes sense.
That version of me.
I wonder if that's like what I feel for myself, and you could probably tell me this, but like I feel a close connection to like this grandfather version of myself, like this older, wiser, but also like super playful trickster, kind of like old, wise, like strong, but very like playful, tricky kind of guy. Like that energy, like a little bit like Socrates from the Way of the Peaceful Warrior kind of energy. I connect a lot with that energy. Would that be like my oversoul energy?
Yes.
Okay. Because it's like a feeling. It's like a feeling of like a fuller perspective, wiser version of myself now that I can connect to and feel.
Yeah. And I'm saying that because I'm tracking what you're connected to. I'm not saying that just based off of your description.
Got it. You're saying based on how I'm explaining it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Like I'm not saying that because of how you're describing it. I'm saying it because I'm tracking what you're connecting to. Vibrationally.
Right. How I'm feeling about it.
Yeah. And the differentiation is important because, people use the term higher self. I don't really, I'm not asking my higher self really that often. My higher self for me is when I want to do a visualization in this incarnation of like, what do I want my life to be like in a year? That's my higher self. But for me to get my true soul wisdom, like the pure soul wisdom, me as a pure essence extension of source, that's what I want, because it's the same vibrational track as me going to source. Yes,
makes sense.
I'm gonna go to that,
right,
for the most powerful embodied answer. So yeah,
and that's around the like Ascended Master level, essentially. And do you view that like that's when you're in your channeling and when you're opening up as the Oracle, like is that a seat at the boardroom with the other Ascended Masters? Yeah. So when I'm channeling, if I'm not directing it and kind of where I naturally go, it's gonna be everybody at the boardroom and what we're saying. So I more often think in a we, which is that aspect of myself combined with what Yeshua and Mary and Isis it's like
and Melchizedek.
It's like the unanimous vote or the collective, like
the board is
saying the board has decided.
The board has decided. Yeah, like that's the energy of it. It's usually either that or it's infinite intelligence. And the infinite intelligence answers are going to be a lot less specific and a lot more purely vibrational. The Ascended Master boardroom answers are going to be a little bit more specific and a little bit more 3D connected, like because they can play on that realm because they know this frequency.
Makes sense. Like they're Ascended Masters of Earth School.
Yeah. So like that's where, but those are the ways that I prefer to channel. That's a very different thing than reading the field. Like I'll tell people, I'm like, I'm not a historical channel. Like I could dive into that and like develop that, but I've never spent time developing like, what happened here on this timeline in this, like I can read that kind of stuff, but
people specialize in that kind
like people, the same way people you can specialize in all kinds of things, right? Or it's like, even like the mentalism, right? People specialize in being able to just read minds. And so I'll pick up on frequencies from people, but I don't like every single thought going through your head. Like I'm not reading that because I read more of like the oversoul frequency in the field. And so I'm reading your subconscious more than I'm reading any minds. Yeah,
that makes sense. A different density, so to speak.
And yeah, like if infinite intelligence is talking and you're like referencing a certain person, they're going to be like, explain the person. Like, we're just reading vibration.
Wait, say that again.
So if somebody's like, you know, what happened to Joe Smith in 1938 after he, like, infinite intelligence is like, we're just reading vibration.
Yeah, I see.
Like, it's like irrelevant in that density.
Yeah.
So you'd want to ask a being that's like related to that density.
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense?
That does.
Or you're reading that part of the fields. Like, you're reading the energy field. So you're reading the source field and you're specialized in that. For me, timeline things are really interesting like that, like history. We're kind of talking about this in Sedona. I'm like, I love learning about history, but what people don't realize is there are so many realities going on. And so a lot of times, like, there are times I'll ask, like, even things with Yeshua, right? I'm like, well, what happened here? And he's like, well, which timeline of me?
Right.
Because different people have different memories of things.
Yeah.
And he, just like all of us, is existing in the infinite.
Yeah.
Right? Like, in your Akashic records and the record of your soul, that's all the timelines, past, present, future, all the potentials. All of those exist somewhere in the field. Right? So
all the parallel realities, all the...
So the higher up you're working, to look at something historically, like, it becomes irrelevant.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
And so you could drop into, you know, what are the prominent timelines that people like here that you've experienced from this perception. But timelines are very complicated. And it's just a different point to be viewing from.
That makes sense.
You know?
Yeah.
So if we're reading from a dimension like here, like if I'm reading from the 3D, then I could tap into on this timeline from this orientation point what happened historically. But like the second we go into a higher dimension beyond time and space, it's kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, I see.
So yeah, I've never, like, I don't know, that's just not my thing. There's
sense.
other people that do that and it's really cool.
Right.
But yeah, it's just never been like it's more of like life lessons, development, relationships, abundance, healing the body is a big theme. Us accessing our spiritual intelligence, us accessing our relationship with the divine, miracle energy. It's a lot more of just that pure vibration piece.
That makes sense.
You know?
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, you know, there's so many questions, they're just like, that's the wrong question. Why is that relevant to you?
Yeah.
Right? Like, why am I trying to lock in on this certain thing? What's that indicating about where my consciousness is at and what I'm focused on in my life and what I'm energizing? And what is that I'm actually trying to create and where I'm out of alignment with creating that because I'm so busy focused on this thing, right? Yeah. Where I'm trying to prove a point is where I'm in my ego. Your soul isn't trying to prove any points. Yeah. Your soul's just flowing, you know? So it's just a different type of conversation. The same way in a session with somebody, if their past loved one is sharing messages, it's going to be a different type of conversation than if they're oversoul. And neither is better than or worse than. They're both beautiful, right? They're both super healing. They're just different types of conversations. The same way you go to different friends and you have different types of conversations. Some are funnier, some are deeper, it's just different conversations. Yeah. And so that's the value of understanding what you're tapping into in the field, you know? Right,
because they come at different densities, different levels, and the messages are different, and the conversations are slightly different.
Yeah. And working with ascended masters, you know, there's just, if I have a certain question, I know who I'm going to go to and who I'm not. Like, if I want to ask about something about the body, I'm going to go to the beings that are really understand healing and miracle healing and have lived that, and that's really coded in their oversoul frequency.
Which beings are like those?
I mean, Yeshua, Archangel Raphael, Archangel Michael for sure, Isis, the Marys. I'm definitely going to go in that direction. If I'm going, you know, I would say like morality and what's right and things like that, I'm really going to go to Melchizedek and Yeshua. Very psychic things, witchy things is going to be Odin and Isis, you know, so I kind of know who's going to specialize in that in my boardroom. Mothering energy, Mary, Kuan Yin, Isis, you know, so I know who I'm going to ask in certain, you know, I'm not going to ask Melchizedek about how I can prepare to be a mom. Like, he will have things to say, but I mean, no offense. He's just, you know, they're talking as I'm talking, just like laughing at me. Like, I will ask you, but it's just a different it's just a different you're
Different
gonna give me a
conversation.
different answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but it's a really weird experience for me all the time that I mean I've just gotten used to, and I think I'm really good at being grounded in it, but it's like all the time I have all these voices in my head.
Honest question here. Where's the line between psychosis
I know
and channeling?
Fair. I know. I feel bad for, there's so many people that get just ripped apart in the internet for their channeling, and it's just like, it's kind of sad, like, because it's a real art.
Yeah.
It's a real art, but I mean, you probably have to ask a
psychotherapist or something
yeah,
like that.
but I would say if you're able, if you are controlling it, if you're aware that it's a different consciousness.
Yeah.
And there's probably something in my brain that would indicate the difference, but I don't think I'd be able to be grounded and have a clear conversation like this.
Totally.
Like I'm in full control, right? Like, I can turn all of it off, and I don't have to talk to anybody. But, people make all these judgments about all this, and I'm like, you're talking to God all the time.
Yeah.
You're talking to frequency all the time. You just don't hear it in voice format. I do. You're just not seeing it. I do. That's the only difference.
Yeah.
But everybody is picking up on these energies. And so to me, me hearing your subconscious thought that you're scared is no different than you walking in the room and feeling
that vibe.
Feeling the vibe. The only difference is that I can hear a thought. I know it's from you, and I know it's connected to, because I have the precision with that. Like the same way, I don't know, somebody gets on an accident, they get hit by a car and they're on the street, and somebody walks up and they're like, oh my God, your leg is fucked up. And that's all they know. And a doctor walks up and they're like, oh, you just broke this bone, that got ripped, this artery. Like they just know with precision because they've studied that and mastered that, and they can identify it.
Yeah, good analogy.
It's really just the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, to me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I think, like, we forget when we come here. Like, we're in this dense illusion, and the more we can peel back those layers, we take our power back, and we recognize all of the things that we can do. Neo, the spoon isn't real.
Yeah.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
And so, people who judge it or whatever, it's like, okay, so you're not going to win the game. It's just that simple.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
Yeah.
So when you remember, and I think there have been so many visceral experiences, and I was telling Tynelli, like, because I have the ability to be in both dimensions at the same time.
Yes.
Like visually, emotionally, hearing in my right ear one thing, and then being here with you in the left. And it's a lot of activity. Yeah. Right? But like over here on this side, it's a sea of energy. It's just pure everything. And over here, it's the density. And it's like, oh my God, these people are so caught up in things that don't matter. Oh my God, these people are overcomplicating everything. Oh my God. Like there's such a different perspective. And so we come as souls, so many of us, to remind each other, this is the illusion. All of this suffering we create for ourselves. Right. We create this for ourselves. Right. The divine didn't say there must be suffering. Yeah. Right. We got free will and we do shit because we forgot and we're making choices that aren't feeling good. And then you have to learn that lesson the same way a child learns, let me not touch the pan because it's hot. Yeah. And so we're learning. Have a choice. Yeah. We're learning those things through choice. And so, like why I came here, like, so many other people listening to this, it's like we came here to remind each other and to remember and tell each other, remember, like, this is an illusion. Yes. This stuff is an illusion. And when you remember that, I can work with it and work with the energy and hack the energy and be in the frequency where I'm not limited by all of the distortion and all of the heaviness to create something different. Yeah. Right? Makes a lot of sense. Even just think about healing the body through the power of your mind. Through energy. Yeah. And you could be living at a density where that's just absolutely not true for you. Like, you don't believe it's true. There's no way. Then it's not going to be true. It won't work. Right. And when you shift your vibration to believe that, it happens. Yeah. It happens. Yep. Yep. So we're kind of peeling back these layers of the density and consciousness to be able to start to really live on this planet in that ascended master form. Yeah. Right? Like Yeshua could break boundaries with the matrix because he didn't forget. Right. Or because he remembered. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was holding that vision so clearly for himself and for others, and he was sharing that message that heaven on earth exists, and it's here right now through me, through you. Like, we can connect with that.
Yeah.
I was writing this. I wrote this poem, and one of the lines that is coming through right now from the poem is what you just said, which is, we came here with conscious amnesia, forgetting on purpose so that we could feel the joy of remembering. And like, that's what you said, and that just came back through me of just like, yeah, we came here with conscious amnesia, forgetting on purpose so that we could feel the joy of remembering. It's like that remembering and that resonance of like, oh yeah, like that feels like I remember that. Like I remember that this is a certain density that we're focused in, that we came here on purpose, and that like there are layers to this, and there are things outside of what we can visually see or hear. And yeah, and you're right. So the ascended masters are people that we can still tune into.
Walked the earth plane and held that frequency.
Yeah.
And ascended to that frequency, so to speak.
To be able to still assist us in our journey here on earth.
Yeah, well, like they mastered the human experience in that way. That's the mastery of like, I've broken past the illusion. I remembered. I'm embodying I'm embodying source on this planet.
Right.
So that's really breaking the matrix, right? And they paved vibrational paths that actually opened up the field for us to remember, right? Like Yeshua was paving a literal path from this density into the other to open up essentially a portal,
right,
for us to ascend.
Damn.
Okay, like there's a lot of very literal vibrational things that are going on in the field, in addition to just consciousness expansion and inviting us to remember. So there's a lot that went on, and then a religion went on to make us believe that this is only for special people. They're magical unicorns,
right? And
so you should bow to them, you should worship them,
right? You
should be a slave to them, and that's not what they wanted at all. They're like, message. Hey, we're like, this is possible for me. Yes. This is possible for you. Yep. They didn't come without really hard work, like really, really difficult decisions of choosing love consistently and not fear, of being a leader and not a follower, of going off the beaten path, of being really brave. Like the stories of all these people, it's intense bravery. It's always like, I had this insane divine vision, guidance, and I did it even though this crazy thing was going to happen. You know, and they really did, you know, and this is the part, when I was younger, I was like, oh, Jesus died on the cross for me. It didn't make any fucking sense. But I'm like, in this timeline, people made really tough choices so that I can sit here and not be burned at the stake.
Yeah.
Like that's like these were like very, very intense consequences, you know, so for us to have these freedoms the same way, like,
so true.
You know, in wars that have been fought, like this is all messy, but it's like it's like really hard things happen. You know, people give their lives so that freedoms can be activated. Like that's a very real thing. It's like a patriotic thing, but it is a real vibrational thing of ascended masters who have come here at other times, and other aspects of you that have incarnated and had really difficult lifetimes so that you could have the life that you have right now. I mean, that's the truth. Yeah. You know, like it all comes back around. So we are paving vibrational space for us to experience all of it, you know? But yeah, I mean, I don't know. If somebody wants to call me psychotic, it's okay. I do think diagnostically, can you be a functioning person in society and have a grounded conversation and hold one? Yes, I'm holding one consciousness. Right. Can I also hear the voices if I want and speak from them? Yeah.
Right. Well, that's one thing that I appreciate about you, because you do have one foot in both for sure. Like, like what we're doing, you run a podcast, you run a business, like you pay rent, like, you know what I mean? Like you have your foot very grounded here as well. And it always feels like a conscious control. And I feel like that's a lot of the work that you teach other people, is how to be able to turn on and activate those gifts and do it in a safe and responsible way. Yeah.
I mean, look, do I wish I didn't have to pay rent and what, but it's like, okay, it's part of the human 3D game, you know, and learning to do that in a way that it is aligned, then I can still hold all of this.
It's pretty remarkable.
It's, you know, but I definitely think, the gifts are always changing and expanding. And I think it's this very fine line. I think sometimes I almost have a little too much control. Like a little too much control, and so I can get in the way a little bit.
Yeah.
And I definitely battle with that. It's a really deep internal process. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
sounds like it.
I mean, it's not exactly like, but I talked to a lot of athletes and the whole identity crisis that happens when your career as an athlete ends, particularly like a professional athlete. It's like a very intense personal experience that's really only other athletes are going to understand it. And I'll like talk with them and like hear them. And I'm like, there's a vibrational adjacence for this like path I walk as a channel, which is different from a psychic. It is like it's very, very different now than it was, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It's different name of the game. Like it was easier for me just like being psychic and having like being able to kind of shift into that consciousness whenever I want. Sometimes it's like too easy, and one of the things I've learned is that people really want a production.
Yeah.
If people like want a production, but I'm like, but I don't need a production.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So, but there's just a lot of kind of internal things you go through. And, I've never like, I think a lot of people would assume it's who am I, but that's not really what it is. I'm never unclear on who I am.
Yeah.
It's more of what's the most important voice to be sharing and in what way.
Yeah.
Right.
When we're talking about one thing that really resonated with me, when we're talking about different timelines existing or like history, one thing that feels very clear is the timeline or the perception of Mary Magdalene and how history has painted Mary Magdalene versus who Mary Magdalene really is. Can you talk at all about that?
I mean, you could talk about that.
I sure can, but
yeah, I mean, I grew up Catholic. And all I knew is that Mary Magdalene was a prostitute. I didn't know anything else. Mary Magdalene was trained in the temple of Isis. And I mean, this is a whole thing, right? So like way back in the day, high priestesses used sex magic to heal people and were doing a lot of real miracle healing work. Training in how to cultivate sexual energy and life force energy to manifest any miracle. So the same way that we vibrationally bring a child into this planet, that is a lot of life force energy, seed planted together and manifested into the real world. You can, instead of a child, take that miracle God energy and that vibrational space of potency and do healings, for example, or spiritual activations. And so the high priestesses were doing this miracle work for people and got a lot of power. Well, I wouldn't even say they had a lot of power, but they were very respected. Yeah. And they were powerful because they could basically do any type of magic.
Portals of consciousness.
Yeah. Do any type of magic. And the men in charge in society did not like that. So this is where the whole prostitution thing came into play, because they were doing sex magic. So they would train with specific men who had to learn like semen retention, right? To basically train to charge their energy bodies and use the life force energy instead of releasing into orgasm,
cycling that
into a miracle healing for people. So long story short, I'm sure we can understand, men in power, no offense men, but like men in power, I don't like that. They're doing miracles. For sure. She's more powerful than me. So all these women who are doing sex in this temple are sluts. Yeah. And they're a piece of shit and they're the bad people in society. A lot of propaganda.
Shaming, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of shaming of sex and sexual practices, right? So that's kind of like the historical reference point into leading into being trained in mystery schools or the healing temples was either birthright, like lineage, and or if you were chosen, is the best way to describe it. You were chosen. Very small societies, very small groups, and a real training, like a real intense training, and again very like secretive. So the Temple of Isis, a lot of similar women in that lineage would follow those trainings and learning practices like sex magic, healing practices like sex magic. But because of where we had gotten in history, okay, they're still kind of shamed. So they're the spiritual people who understood and revered people, like who these women who were training, who were initiates in the temple. And then there's like mainstream people who are like, oh, those sluts.
Right.
No different than today.
Yeah.
So that's going on. So Mary Magdalene was training in the temple of Isis and prepared in that way. Jesus's mother also in that lineage. And Yeshua had been traveling around getting trained in his psychic abilities and in the healing arts, in energy work and things like that. And so and being trained, so by the time he was ready to fulfill his mission, he knew he was going to meet her, and she knew she was going to meet him.
And that was their purpose.
Yeah. And it was all leading up to that point. And I actually don't even remember what your question was. But anyway, Mary Magdalene and Yeshua meet and they know, and they're in intimate partnership. They're in sacred union, and they are teaching together. There are feathers being ruffled. Not all of Yeshua's followers liked her because some of them were like, well, she's a slut, and the others recognized her high level of spiritual mastery and what was required for her to have that kind of spiritual level. So she was also a teacher. She was teaching alongside him, and
she was also the reason why he was able to perform the miracles that he did as well. Through
they were doing essentially the energy work together, because she'd been trained how to charge his ka body, so that he would be able to essentially ascend and to be able to create that portal out. So he wouldn't have been able to do any of that without her. And history does its thing, religion does its thing with both of them. Totally. Like everything kind of gets twisted, but they're together. Romantically and teachers together.
Powerful. Yeah. And like this, like where do you learn this from? I know you probably connect to the actual frequency and energy of them as ascended masters, and which I do as well, in the sense of like divine father, divine mother, and sacred union. And then like reading books like the Magdalene Manuscript and other Mary Magdalene channeled texts as well. But it seems like there's a general consensus of like that information being accurate and out there, which is like a different timeline than like the history of like what the Catholic Church.
Is it though? Is it different than the history? Because like I think what the Catholic Church says is not what the history says.
Like what the Catholic Church says is not what the history says. Yeah, that's my point. It's different.
Yeah. So like to me, the Catholic Church says whatever it says. I don't actually know everything it says. Yeah. But if we trace things historically, that's painting part of the picture. There's a lot of people that have purely looked at this historically. Right. And then, so there's that. And people who have done that are on this train. And then there are all the channels. And here's the thing, in like the channeling community and psychic community, if everybody's getting the same thing, Mary speaks through a lot of people. A lot of people channel Mary Magdalene. And a lot of people channel Yeshua. Yeah. And so if enough people are saying the exact same thing, that's where it comes. You're getting enough, And so, I think for me, primarily, like, I wasn't really aware of anybody else's stuff about it until I had gotten older, because I didn't know anybody else who was into any of this, like just because these were things that I was told, being like 5 years old. And they've always been two of my strongest guides around me. And so for me, it was part of just kind of like how I grew up and like getting to know my spirit guides and all of that, and getting told that, combined with even during the time when I turned off my clairvoyance, I was just fed so many random like movies and blog posts like that over the years. It was just like, this was the truth. I was just seeing all these things. And then once I got older, and I remember I was actually talking to one of my mentors, because I was channeling a lot for Mary Magdalene. And I told her, I'm like, am I crazy? And she's like, no, everybody's saying this. And she was like, you should check out these books. Yeah. And I go, well, I don't usually like to read books like other people channel, because I don't want it to get. And she's like, no, but you already channeled all this stuff that you just sent to me, and like, go read Magdalene Manuscript. It's a lot same info. Right. And so I think then I started reading some of and I haven't read every book on Mary Magdalene, and I was like, oh, everybody's saying the same thing. Yeah. And I think I needed that for myself, just like at the time.
There's confirmation.
Yeah. Because it can be very triggering for certain people.
Yeah, and I think that this is where, like, this is a really important conversation that I'm starting to have a lot more, because it, like, I look at it through a few different lenses as well, because I'm Jewish. I identify as being part of the Jewish tribe and having Jewish faith, but in Judaism, it feels like, and I'll preface this conversation by saying, like, I'm open-minded to exploring all of this, and I'm constantly exploring all this in conversation. I want to explore all this in conversation, and I think it's where you start to brush up against certain boundaries, both in Christianity and in Judaism as well, because it's like there's a certain, like, concept that we have about Jesus or about Christianity or about Judaism. It's like there are these hard kind of boundaries or these walls. And as you start to have some of these conversations, you start to need to be able to hold a little bit more nuance, and you get a little bit more in the gray areas of quote unquote black or white, right? And so, like, I've always loved, and as I started to come back to working with Yeshua and Mary Magdalene from that sense of, like, here was a rabbi, here was a Jewish man, a rabbi who lived his entire life, like, preaching the word of God. And, like, I believe wholeheartedly that had I been alive during that time, I would have been a follower of Yeshua for sure. Because if we look at historically context period, the temple was corrupt, right? The high priests were corrupt, and we were going away from the word of God. And Yeshua comes and is bringing people back to love thy neighbor, bringing people back to this unity consciousness, bringing people back towards heaven on earth, right? Bringing people back to the core teachings of the Torah, the Old Testament. And it's like that's a powerful message, but, like, Judaism, this is one of my qualms that I have. It's like, it feels like I'm not able to explore that conversation within the confines of Judaism, because it's just like, no, Jesus, Christian, like, Christianity, different. And I get that, because there's some scars and wounds from Jewish perspective. Like, my family, for example, we had to leave, like, again, talking about from a historical context, like, we had to leave Spain during the Spanish Inquisition, because it was like we had to convert and accept Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, or be killed. Yeah. And it's like, I can see how that's triggering to, like, want to have Jesus in the conversation now. But it's like, we have to be able to hold the nuance and separate. It's like, what was he actually saying? And, like, what is the actual message there? And how does that play in context towards history? So to me, it becomes, like, a lot more nuance, which, like, anytime you have more nuanced conversations, it takes a certain type of person that's open-minded and being able to hold multiple things at once. But I found it very interesting, being someone of the Jewish faith as well, to, like, explore this deeper and explore this more and connect with these energies in different ways. So yeah, I just felt like sharing that is important as well, and hopefully as a permission slip too, to whatever you believe or whatever you identify as. Also, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be black and white, and we can look at things through different lenses to be able to inform what we feel, what we know. This was
part of the bigger purpose, though, right? I think about, like, my human, and I would always say this to him. I'd be like, okay, so you came here and were basically just trying to teach people love, and that they could be one with God, and to remember, like, themselves as God. Yeah. And you're getting, you have people who love what you're saying, and people that hate you and hate what you're saying, and they kill you for it. And the people that kill you for it then try to take you as basically a symbol of their power, and then completely shift your entire timeline, turn this into an entire, like, religion, using what you said and twisting it for their own agenda. Yeah. Dividing people, killing people on your behalf. Right. After this is the opposite of what you spoke for. Totally. Like, taking your name and, like, watching how that threads throughout history. Yeah. And I'd be like, oh my God, I'd be pissed. I know, right? I'd literally be pissed. Yeah, and Yeshua is just like, no, but this was the purpose. It doesn't matter. Right? Like, legacy doesn't matter to your soul the way that it matters to your ego. Like, this is legacy of, okay, that was so impactful that everybody is questioning it, because we are all feeling this is not true. There's something off here. There's so much off. There's so many different stories. What really happened? Yeah. If we didn't have that thing going on with the vibration, we would never question it. We would never come back to this realization we are right now of, like, I can't trust everything religion is saying. Right. I can't trust what the government is saying every time. Like, these structures and institutions are not infallible. Yes. They actually only have power if I give them power. Yes. We as a people are just as powerful as any institution. Yep. And that is, like, how deeply the seed has to be planted for this to play out now. Look how long it's taken us. Right. And there's resources that have to do with that, right? Like availability. But it's timing. And so when people are talking about, we're at a very interesting time in this timeline, in this reality around, like, we actually have the ability to change things in a massive, massive way positively, because we're allowed to question and we can disseminate information in a way that we never could have before.
Yep. Like you were literally saying, it resonated with me. You were like, you would have been burned at the stake. Quite literally.
Yeah, like literally. Yeah. Right? I mean, he died for it. Yeah. He died for saying be love.
Yeah. And healing people.
For healing people. You know, so we have to like really think about that. But that's how deeply the seed had to be planted. And just now, and not just now, people have questioned that for a long time, but then told themselves, I'm not going to question it. It just is what it is, or I'm not going to talk about it. And now we're actually talking about it,
right?
And bringing truth to light and getting on the same page again. And this has taken, you know, how long?
Thousands of years.
And required someone's name to be just, you know, ripped to shreds a bit. But it's not like he feels negatively about it. It's like, this is part of the path. It's just part of how things unfold. People have to create illusions and distortions and projections as part of the timeline for other people to recognize this isn't okay, or I'm going to see past the illusion and see past the distortion.
Right. And now we have the opportunity to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And so now we're able to start to really attune to, how do I see truth and how do I discern? You can't discern properly. You can't learn to discern without not properly discerning first and having that contrast point. Like, that's how you learn. People always ask me, how do you discern? It's like, you fall on your face. You make decisions that you think are from your heart that are actually were from your mind, and then you realize that looking back, it wasn't. And then you know for next time based on how it felt, and that's how you learn to discern.
You touch the boiling pot of water and you burn yourself and you take your hand away to know. That's how you build discernment.
Exactly. It's like, okay, I did this thing that I thought was authentic, and then I did it and it didn't feel authentic, and then I learned that wasn't authentic.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing for us with truth.
Beautiful.
And
well said.
This story with Yeshua and Mary is just one of many, but I also think, and there's so many layers to this, it was also part of the way that a lot of higher truths and activation codes that were held in his family line and from their teachings have been safeguarded, have been hidden. Because I mean, I don't think all spiritual information is for everybody all the time.
Right.
I don't.
Yeah.
There are so many things that I've learned on my journey, like from the guides, that like they should not have told me that 5 years ago or 10 years ago. Like, I wasn't mature enough yet. Because with great power comes great responsibility. And so if we're not energetically or literally responsible enough, we can have that information. That's why mystery schools, like, you were chosen, right? Or this was a lineage thing. Things were protected. Information was protected. And so I think that's really true with spiritual activations and with certain knowledge, and that's a big part of this also. You know, like, let them pretend like nothing else came of that,
right?
Because in many ways it protects the family line, and especially then, and I mean even now, like, people were really on the hunt for Yeshua's lineage. They were really on the hunt, and so it was also fine because it kind of protected more people from looking.
That makes a lot of sense. Like the Da Vinci Code. Yeah.
The Da Vinci Code is it's a channel text.
Straight up, go watch
it's a documentary.
Yeah, it's a documentary. It's a great documentary.
Yeah, it's a great documentary.
For sure.
Yeah.
So The Matrix.
Yeah, it all comes together.
Yeah.
You know.
And as we wrap here, because time is a construct of the 3D apparently that we have to abide by at times, but what do you feel like is next for our humanity? I don't know if that's too big of a question to end on, because I'm like, that's going to take us down a whole rabbit hole, but
can I ask you something before I answer that?
Yeah, sure.
Because my brain, my consciousness can't even go there.
Yeah.
Why, like, and maybe the religious piece and the history is the answer, but it's just like, why is this topic so triggering?
Yeah.
And I understand that when there's like a real ancestral tie to that, like, I understand, but I think there's a lot of people, like, for me, it was never triggering.
Yeah. Well, I think it's triggering to someone if your whole world, anything is triggering to another individual if if your whole conviction or worldview is set upon certain foundation or certain ideas of what truth is, and a concept comes in that questions that.
But here's my thing. Is your whole worldview resting on Mary Magdalene being a prostitute? Like, why is it so threatening to your worldview if Yeshua was married?
Right.
Like, why is that negative?
That's a great question.
You know,
that's a great question.
It's kind of like if somebody came in and they were like, you know, Benjamin Franklin was an evil scientist who was plotting against the United States, and he actually caused the whatever war. Like, I'm like, that'd be interesting, but it certainly wouldn't shatter my sense of self.
Well, I think it might it might contradict certain words from like the New Testament, for example. Like, you know, it might contradict certain things that people have based to believe is true. And if it contradicts that, then it's like, well, if that's not true, then what else is not true? So like, this has to be true, and I can't entertain something else not being quote unquote true.
I mean, I get that. I understand that.
Yeah.
I just think we live
it's a great point.
We live in 2025, so have you not met that somewhere?
Yeah.
Like, have you not met that with food or with government or like I'm like, it's kind of everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's also why this conversation is now coming up and we're able to talk about it more, because we can hold nuances where it's just like, oh, actually, I can't trust everything the government tells me or that the CDC says to me, right? It's like, oh, actually, there are different perspectives and different forces at play here. So like I have to be able to think critically, and I have to be able to like not just like, you know, say, okay, this doctor's telling me to do something, so like that I'm going to put my full blind faith and trust in that. It's like, right. So I think that now we're able to start to have more of this nuanced conversation, which is why it's coming up clearly. And I think why more people are interested in having it, and why it's important to have it, and why we need to be able to like kind of open up to be able to consider different possibilities and to be able to hold multiple things true at once is an important part of it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just interesting, you know, with things with history, you know, it's just not my space. I don't really care too much about it. And that's part of why, like, you know, as a channel, I'm not going to get on here and be like, this was, like, my whole business is not going to be, this was Yeshua's history. Because, like, I don't care. Like, I don't think it's relevant. It's like,
I love that.
People can believe whatever they want to believe.
Right.
But with this whole history conversation, it's like, but how do you know? Like, how do you know? And so much, okay, so we're gathering evidence from, like, people wrote things. People write all kinds of things that aren't true. People create stories of whatever. I mean, how much later were these stories about Yeshua even written?
Right.
Like hundreds of years?
Yeah. Hundreds of years.
And you can look at this from any point of history. I mean, I used to always think this in archaeology class. Like, I took so many archaeology classes. And I was just like, this is such a stretch that you're going to say, like, and I understand there's physical evidence. That's super cool and that's super helpful. But we have to also acknowledge, like, this is a stretch. And we're adding a lot to the story.
Yeah.
I could pick a lot of other stories that would also fit.
Absolutely.
The fact that pot was there at that time.
Absolutely.
Adding to all of these interesting, energetic, vibrational, spiritual things that nobody's accounting for, like, I mean, how did we build the pyramids?
Yeah.
What about sound frequency? What about all the advancements that came before?
Right.
There's all these other parts of the conversation. So I don't know.
Well, I mean, have you heard Graham Hancock at all? And what's it? Ancient Civilizations. It's a fantastic. You should watch Netflix series, Ancient Apocalypse. It's called. He's an archaeologist, and he's been on Joe Rogan a bunch, and it's incredible what because he's discovered evidence, like great evidence around there being ancient civilizations existing on the planet, like more advanced civilizations than us humans, right? And he's showing and proving through his exploration, and it's going against, it's like he's dating human activity on the planet far beyond what modern archaeology says we existed.
That's cool.
And it's super cool. But this is the perfect example of like, he is people are trying to silence him like no other. Like academia has turned him and put him right, of course, because it questions it. And so he talks a lot about that of like, and it's just like, how am I a threat? It's like, shouldn't we have that curiosity?
Yeah,
or like,
aren't we all trying to figure out what the truth is? Like, that's the point of science. And then science goes and shuns anyone that gets closer to.
Well, because I think it's a control thing and it's a power thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
For sure, 100%. So, I mean, there's a lot to it, but it's just, I think, and for me, it's a frequency thing of like, why would I want to accommodate or what's the right word? Like give excuses for institutions that are so out of alignment with integrity.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like everybody trying to defend parts of the scientific community. I'm like,
right.
Literally why? Like, why would I go to bat for you? Like, why? You know? And it's like, that's what's really weird to me. It's like this allegiance to groups or thing where I'm
Group
like,
think, yeah.
It's just odd to me. I'm like, you're allegiant to whatever. That just doesn't vibe for me.
Yeah.
Like if somebody's in pursuit of truth and they're coming from an energy of like non-judgment and love, cool. But it's when the judgmental stuff comes up, the shunning, the guilt, it's like it's so low frequency.
Yeah.
I don't care what you represent. And I think that's the thing about like people are like, well, what are the certifications everybody has? Or like what's the licensing and like what's your education? I don't know. There's all this judgment and I find a lot of people like who in the wellness space, in the spiritual space, whatever, that are like very caught up in, but I need my this education or that to be respected. I'm like, you're here trying to talk about these topics and you're like giving your money and your life to an institution that's super out of integrity. And I understand there are very real, like valid, integrous reasons to do that. But I'm also not going to go like defending that. Yeah. You know, I'm like, I don't know. That was my thing with education. Like, you know, everybody in my family was like, you'll get your PhD, blah, blah. I'm like, I was learning so many things in school that were just not true. That were just not true. And to give you a very like baseline example, you know, in psychology, we're learning about like the physiological connections with depression and anxiety. Simultaneously, I'm learning a lot like on podcasts and other research that's like live that's disproving this. And you bring this to the professor and like that's not true. Yeah. I'm like, okay, well why would I give 8 years of my life to learn this theory of depression when right now in this year it's been disproven scientifically? Yep. Like it's just so it's like 8 years of my life out of alignment and memorizing lies
and lots of money that you're giving to it too.
Yeah, it's like it's memorizing lies
and to do it to an institution or to a person or professor that fundamentally it's like when it becomes this is the way it is and you have to like buy into this and this is it and like and it's my way or the highway or like you are even further like we see a lot today or like you are a bad person for thinking otherwise. Yeah. That's really bad and that's dangerous. And we've seen that happen a lot and play out hugely. And we're seeing this happen. You play out in the political spectrum. We're seeing this play out in like in institutions. I think it's also because the institutions of the past are not supporting us into the new world that we're building. And so like we're seeing people gripping to that and also those starting to crumble in a lot of ways. I mean, healthcare, the sick care institution, we're seeing that play out in real time right now.
And look, I understand that sometimes you have to play the game to beat the game. Like I understand that. And I am extremely grateful for the number of people that are going through the entire Western medical track to be able to transform it and like change it from the inside out. Like I am so grateful. I'm so grateful. So I'm not like, but I am just saying, you know, it's a larger conversation and it's one thing to kind of like hold that knowing and understanding of like I'm playing a long game here and I'm able to hold all of these perspectives at the same time. We have to be careful of where we're falling into the groupthink. I think is the bigger conversation. And I think just staying rooted in like I am open to just learning all the perspectives.
Curiosity, like intellectual curiosity.
And I think that's what education really should be about. You know, like exploring new ideas.
Definitely, and helping you develop that discernment and critical thinking to be able to evaluate and make your own decision and not like, oh, if I'm looking at the data and I'm looking at it and I have a different perspective or I land a different conclusion, like shouldn't that be met with curiosity and celebration even and not like, no, bad.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think some of the most powerful insights I've ever come to about myself or about the world have actually come on the other side of like me hearing someone's perspective, like really dropping into it and being like, that's a really intelligent, well thought out position. And I don't agree with it. And like, I really respect that. But like that helped me get clearer on my own feeling. And that's super important and valuable.
Yes.
Like we have to have different
Yes.
voices and different perspectives,
Right.
but it's how we interact with those voices.
Right.
That's really important.
Right.
That's
right.
really important.
Yeah. Versus saying that, being like, no, you're wrong to think that. Like you need to think this way. Otherwise it makes me feel unsafe and uncomfortable.
And just
very
like
different.
and just shutting
and
it
shutting
down.
it down.
People now.
Right. Cancel.
They just immediately cancel, immediately turn off. They don't know how to discuss because they don't know how to critically think. In conversation, people are so busy defending and what am I going to say next?
Right.
I'm going to let you talk, but I've already have in my mind what I'm going to say next to just rip a hole in what you said versus let me actually hear you, critically think with this and have a productive discussion so we can get somewhere.
Yep.
You know, and you used to have to do that back in the day because you'd be at the dinner table and not agree with anything. And you also, you know, that's how you learned.
Yeah. Somebody
would share something, you're like, I've never heard of that before. Let me hear more. And that's how you would learn. And now everybody has just decided something and they don't want to hear anything else.
Yep.
It's really limiting.
Yeah.
But you know, and here is one of the reasons why I'm so grateful for channeling. It's like it's taught me that there are so many things that are true at the same time. Like, that is what it has taught me more than anything else. They're like, even with history, right?
Yeah.
Like what somebody says, I'm like, I can see that in the field, that timeline. I can also see that timeline.
Right.
But like, what if both are true? What if it's an and? And even with things we were talking about earlier, like my best career, or like, who should I be with in my, like, is this person my person? Yeah. And if
you choose that timeline.
and somebody else could be too.
Yeah.
You know, like there's just a lot of things that can be true at the same time. And even like what should I do here? What's authentic to do here as humans? You know, if I ask one of my spirit guides something, an ascended master something, infinite intelligence source, like I'm going to get a different angle to the answer.
Right.
And every time I have a question for myself, about life, or especially for me, a lot of what I bring to them is like, how do I show up with this in a healthy way? Like things that I feel like I get triggered by or I'm hurt by. I'm like, instead of reacting to this, like what's the higher way of moving forward with this?
Yep.
And I have to really check myself, you know? And so I'm always learning that. And I'm getting a different answer at different vantage points.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that is really helpful for me. And then I have to use the discernment of like, which way am I going to go? Right?
Yep.
Because there can be the piece of, you know, just be love here. Just be love, but like, what does that actually look like? Right? And what's the balance? Like, what does unconditional love really mean? And how do boundaries fit into that? Yeah. It's a big conversation. Yep. So there's just nuances to the answers. Yeah. And that's what's been really helpful for me about pulling from different perspectives and hearing them not from the lens of which one is right, but from the lens of what if all of them are true? And that is super, super helpful.
That's really good. I think that's a great mic drop nugget to end on here as we
in the vortex.
As we're in the vortex venturing onward, because I could keep going.
We could literally go all day.
I know.
It's like you'd have to pee 10 times.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll do that one day. Yeah. We'll just go all day.
We actually would be really fun.
That would be fun. Just a marathon.
We like a live stream.
Yeah, we should live stream. That way we can like take some questions too, and just like we're just gonna live stream. We're just gonna jam.
live stream.
Yeah.
Well, we should do it at Dreamland.
Yeah, great.
We should just do it.
Yeah, just like invite
live.
people to come. Yeah. Just like we're gonna live stream this. Yeah, because I feel like we're still just scratching at the surface here.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's the Wayne Dyer Abraham Hicks moment.
The Wayne Dyer. Yeah. What's that one?
Did you watch that?
Oh yeah, where they were on.
I'm just like,
stage,
whoa, we're like in a vortex.
Yeah.
They're like 2 hours deep, and I'm like, wow, you could keep going.
Yeah.
You know.
Beautiful.
So, well, thank you.
Thank you
for your questions.
Yeah. Is there anything else that's top of this present to share?
No, I feel good.
Right.
I feel, but I think what's important about the channeling conversation, is like, just because something's channeled doesn't mean it's helpful. And like there's such a thing as a healthy filter. Yeah. With channeling, with our thoughts, right? Not every thought that comes in my head needs to be expressed. And that's the other piece that, like, with the spiritual conversation, I think a lot of people want to do spiritual things just for the sake of it, or like, I can channel just because I can channel. Like, I don't need to add more noise. Like, we have a lot of things out there. Just because it's channeled doesn't mean it's more important than what somebody is saying where it's not channeled from a non-physical entity. we just take everything at face value and like what's helpful for me and productive for me. And so I think that's what's really important for us to come back to.
Yep.
There are so many things that we come to logically that are just as valuable and important, if not more, than a frequency channeled through. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
totally.
and so I just think that's what's really important as well in these conversations, because it's really easy in this space, ironically, for people to get into this better than, worse than. And the whole point of it is to not.
Yeah.
The whole point of it is to not.
I love it's like, my ego is the smallest ego than anybody else's. Like I'm the most healed. I have the smallest ego than anybody else out there.
Yeah.
It's like that energy.
Exactly. That's the energy, you know? So I think we just have to come back to, we're just learning, we're exploring.
Yeah.
And that curiosity is like, that's what drives me. That's what drives you. And that's the fun part of it and the interesting part of it. And if we just let that guide us, things get revealed. Right.
And I think leading with that curiosity also is the pathway towards compassion, because it's like it allows you to shift that perspective of finding compassion for someone. It's like, how are they coming to this? Like, I'm genuinely curious. I can now feel more connected, even though we can disagree on something. I can feel a sense of connection to you.
Yeah.
Versus separation consciousness.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm very top of mind right now to practice. And then I love what you said. One of my takeaways from this conversation is building that discernment as well. And the way that you build discernment is like following what you thought was authenticity and then falling on your face, or touching the boiling stove and then like putting your hand away. It's like we build a sense of discernment through that. And I think that's a really important message as well. So
yeah, well, and I kind of hate to drop this here, but this is kind of the crux of it for me, right? Like from a source perspective, nothing is bad or good, right or wrong. It all just is. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But in my experience of humanity, I as a human believe it is important for us to have a sense of right and wrong.
Yes.
And so that's where it's different.
Right.
Because I can spiritually bypass my human experience, be like, well, source says everything just is.
Right.
So I could be a bitch and it just is. Yeah. But it's like, we're taking this information and how does it apply into this density? Yep. Where I actually think that when we come into, okay, how do we apply love energy into moral values, which is a right and wrong morally? Like that is a part of duality that I think is important. And that's why we're here in the 3D experience. And so that is a really distinct example of why it's important to ask from different perspectives, because Melchizedek will tell me what's morally right and wrong, but source is going to be like, all is unfolding perfectly.
And both can be true.
Yeah. And both are true.
Right.
Right. But from our human lens, where we're experiencing emotions and there's suffering and there's this stuff happening, it's going to be a different perspective than when I don't have a body and I'm just an energy orb. Yeah. And so that's why it's really important for us to understand that all of these perspectives are important.
It's so true. And just to add on to that, it's like it's so important now more than ever. And I think that's why there's a lot of confusion also out there, and why I think when you see someone that talks or speaks with moral, like they have a certain moral clarity of like being able to have that discernment between what is right and what is wrong. It's like, yeah, there's a way that we should treat people and there's a way that we should not treat people. Like, and it's important to draw a line in the sand and be like, yeah, like, no, it's not right to treat someone in that way and to cause harm to someone in that way. Yeah. And that's also part of, I had this feeling, it's funny, like as we were camping this week and, you know, we had built this like love bubble vortex in our campsite. And like, I went to the edge of it and we literally set like with crystals, we set like a grid, right? Like a protection grid, north, south, east, and west of like, we have our bubble here. And like, as I was kind of camping on towards the edge of it, and I like went out to the edge of it. And like, I just had this like weird moment. It was like late at night and I like went to go pee, and like, it's the theme of this conversation apparently. And like, I had this feeling of just like,
it's the release.
Yeah, it's the release. And it was like, if this was like our tribe and we were living, like someone could come and like want to kill us and like kill the men and rape the women. And that's what happened historically, right? Until there was a sense of morality and right and wrong, and like, you know, treat people with a sense of kindness and a just morality. And I had this feeling of just like, oh, like it's important for me to know how to defend myself and defend the people I love, or again, around the ideals that I have, because like I could live in this peace bubble, but like I could be murdered very quickly. And so it was like a different perspective that is just a feeling that's coming through around the same thing of, does that make sense?
100%. 100%. And that's why we have to understand, like, us in this density, it's important for us to have different perspectives
Yeah.
than other versions of ourselves.
Yeah.
Where I am living in love La La Land as an energy orb.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally.
So it's a really important thing to think about. And I think I do think that in the spiritual space, there's a real need for a new way. And I don't know what this is exactly, but like a new way of sharing and expressing ideas of morality and right and wrong, of like what is love and what is not, for people to come home to, because I do think that was a really helpful part of religion.
Right.
And there's many very helpful parts of religions.
Yeah.
Right. There's so many helpful parts, and that's one of them.
Right.
Is giving people something to lean into of a compass. And I think that a lot of people have been turned off by different religions for different reasons, and in that blank space, we have to still have some type of backbone.
Yeah.
I believe to live in this density, because we're experiencing duality. And so I do think that is one of the things we're going to need to come to a bit more, you know, and like back in the day, you're the leader,
right?
The leader of the country or whatever was supposed to represent right and wrong. And I think we still sometimes hold that ideal, but it's pretty much been blown up when you look at the worldwide leadership. Like it's more of just, these are the leaders, but we're not necessarily saying that these are the people that we're looking to for spiritual maturity and integrity, right? Usually not.
Yeah.
So I think that we have to have, and again, like the age of the guru is dangerous too, because we don't want to hold anybody on this pedestal either. But what will it look like for us to have something to fall back on in terms of like, hey, this is how you live from love, and we have to do that to create the world we want.
Yes.
And this is what's not love.
Yeah.
And having those clear definitions, because there are a lot of people now, the lines are very blurry.
Yep.
And as we've been, it's like it's rampant in spiritual in the spiritual space. It is so rampant. Because there's so much bypassing of it all just unfolding perfectly. I'm like, that does not mean you get to be toxic.
Totally.
That does not mean you get to walk all over anybody.
Right. That does not mean you get to kill me.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, no, I refuse.
So it's a big conversation for sure.
More to have on this conversation. More to have on this conversation for sure.
Oh my God. So good.
So good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. More coming soon.
More coming soon.